Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My wife got mad, so she changed the locks on our house. After that, my daughter treats me like dirt, but demands that I pay for her college. And after that, am I the jerk for asking my girlfriend to pay for the wine glass she broke? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen gets the locks changed on her. I'll break a window if I have to, Reddit boy. So please smash that like button. And subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My wife got mad, so she changed the locks on our house. I, 30 male, have a beautiful wife who loves to serve others. We bought a home down the street from my family. I have a sweet sister who's 17. She likes to crash at our house with her friends. My wife normally is pretty easygoing until recently. My sister's friends have been leaving a mess, mostly towels on the floor after using our pool. My wife got upset picking up after them every day. I've asked my sister to make sure the house is clean after they leave, and it has been better. My wife also complained that some of her perfumes and clothes and personal items have gone missing. My sister said it's not her. I believe my sister. I just don't see her doing that. I told my wife, and we agreed to just replace them. Last week, my wife made a couple of pans of cinnamon rolls from scratch. One pan was for us, the second pan was for a coworker's family. My wife went to the gym, I went to work, and my sister and her friends came by. The one pan wasn't enough for her and her friends. They wanted the second pan of cinnamon rolls too, and my sister texted my wife asking if they could eat them. My wife said no. They ate them anyways. My wife got upset and went out and bought new locks. When I came home, my wife handed me a new key and told me that she didn't want anyone else to have a key to our house. I tried to calm her down and tell her that I would just go replace the eaten cinnamon rolls with store-bought ones. My wife decided this was her hill to die on and said no. My sister lost the privilege to come when we're not home. Replacing stolen items wasn't good enough anymore. My mom called and asked if my sister could use the pool as a back-to-school party. I was under the impression my mom would be there. I said yes. My mom was at work and our schedules clashed. The easiest solution was for me to change the locks back so they could just come into the house. My mom didn't come with my sister. When my wife got home after the party, it was a mess. She sent me photos. She called me the jerk for changing the locks without talking to her about it. Keep in mind, she did too. Then told me I broke her trust. She wasn't safe in her home because she keeps getting robbed and I refused to put an end to it. I did talk to my sister. Then my wife let me know she was staying with a friend for a while. Am I the jerk here? I feel like I've tried to right any wrongs that have happened between my wife and my sister. Update. Sorry, I haven't been able to reply the past couple of hours. I've been busy. I talked to my mom again and let her know my sister isn't allowed over without me home. I asked a friend's wife who is a maid to come clean our home, so if and when my wife comes home, it's clean. The last thing is, my mom asked me to help cover my sister's cheer. She's on track for a scholarship. I told my mom I would pay half if my wife's things were returned. If not, the money was going to replace the stolen items. Also, my sister was invited to homecoming. She wanted me to buy a dress. I told her no for not following our home rules, and the money I saved for the dress is going to pay for the maid. I did replace the locks again. I also am planning a romantic dinner I will make and clean up. I heard a lot about the cinnamon rolls. Someone on here gave me the idea to make them. I am for a dessert. Update. My sister and my mom left a few minutes ago. My sister had a bag of my wife's things, more than I thought was gone. Most items are in poor shape. The big thing is, she had my wife's grandmother's ring I thought was in the safe. I had no idea it was gone. My sister said that she found it on my wife's nightstand during the party. She forgot she had it on when she left our home. The ring isn't valuable, it's just sentimental. I told my mom who the ring belonged to. My mom lost it. My sister is now grounded. Last update tonight. My wife is coming home. I'm staying at a friend's house until we can work some of this out. I already started it, but I did put the locks back on my wife bought. My family doesn't have that key. Your wife has a right to not be stolen from in her own home. Your sister is disrespectful and entitled, and you are the jerk for prioritizing her over your wife's right to literally not be stolen from. If you want to keep your wife, you better change the locks and refuse to give anyone a key. You're also the jerk for thinking store-bought cinnamon rolls are a replacement for homemade. You're the jerk. What's wrong with you? Your freeloading sister and her crew go into your home and eat your food, leave towels on the floor and whatnot, and you're okay with that because it's not you who's doing all the cleaning, but it's your wife? Then when your wife has had enough and changes the locks so your freeloading users can't get into your home anymore, she makes the correct decision by changing the locks in the home, and you, the jerk, you change it back so that your younger brat sister can continue her being a jerk. Wow, you are truly something else. You better grow up fast and start choosing your wife over your crappy family, or you're going to lose the best thing that ever happened to you. Seriously? You really typed all that out and you still think you're okay? Go get a house with your sister since you care more about wanting to be the cool brother instead of protecting your wife and her property. You're the jerk. Well, what do you think? Is OP a jerk in this story or not? Please let us know. There's a few things I'd like to say, but I don't think we're allowed to. My daughter treats me like dirt, but demands I pay for her college. I, 38 male, have a 19-year-old daughter, Ariel, with my ex-wife, Lauren, who's 39. We had Ariel too young, and it was a huge struggle. We moved into Lauren's families. I was working multiple jobs. Me and Lauren were best friends through all this, but things ended when Ariel was 2. Lauren's friend, Tori, 38, told me that Lauren had been messaging guys, and when they went out, she would give out her number. I checked Lauren's phone and I found it. I asked for a divorce. Lauren was upset and wanted to reconcile. I didn't and got split custody. Lauren made my life horrible. Lauren badmouthed me, would miss pickup times and make decisions without talking to me. Her dad offered money to relinquish custody. I told him off. Ariel is now 19 and just started college. The deal was me and her mom would split it. I remarried Tori when Ariel was 6. Tori was a rock during the divorce, but we didn't date until 2 years later. Lauren used this to warp Ariel against Tori and our son, who's 13. She excludes them. Whenever she spends the night, she will just talk to me or go to her room if my family was around. Our son walks to the basement if she comes over. It hurts me a lot. I've spent thousands on therapy before people bring that up. It's still being utilized. But at this point, Ariel is being nasty for the sake of it. Her mom has convinced her I cheated with her friend and had a baby, which is funny because as I've pointed out, the timelines don't even match up. I've done everything at this point, including family time, one-on-one, and therapy. Ariel is plain rude to them and they are done trying. Ariel graduated from high school in May and hosted a party. I was invited, but my family wasn't. I told Ariel I found that disrespectful, so I'd send a card but wouldn't be going. She didn't care and we haven't spoken since. I get a call from Lauren saying she paid the first semester and was wondering when I'd be paying. I said I was no longer paying, as I'm not pulling money out of my household when Ariel is disrespectful to 2/3 of it. My ex went off, saying we had an agreement. I reminded her of when her dad tried to buy my custody and said, "You have what you've always wanted, full control and custody. You won, so figure it out." Then texted her that I've been putting up with this long enough. She got her 18 years of child support from me, so until she planned on setting the record straight that I was done with both of them, and blocked her. I called Ariel and told her the same, gave her the reasons I'm not paying, and told her she needed to look into loans. But I would pay for college if she at least tried to form a bond with my family because she created this situation with her attitude. So if she wants my help, she needs to attempt it. She started crying, but I didn't fall for it. I told her what my expectations were and to let me know what her plan is so I can move the money around. My wife is on my side here, saying we've been the bad guys for long enough, but I'm getting crap from others. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Everyone who is saying OP is the jerk here, you need to get off your high horse and put yourself in his shoes. His daughter treats him like an ATM, all the while disrespecting him. What's worse is she wants him to pay for college with money that will come from both him and his new wife, who she treats like dirt. Like it or not, they are family, and if she refuses to be a part of that family, she has no right to additional support from it. She can't have it both ways. He paid child support. He made sure she was taken care of growing up. She's now an adult and has to deal with the consequences of her actions. For everyone who said anything other than not the jerk, you all know you would do the same thing in OP's shoes. People like to be morally outraged hypocrites these days, and that crap needs to stop. And to everyone saying he pulled the rug out from under her, seriously people? Maybe he made a promise to help her, but that doesn't allow her to act like a jerk. If you're a jerk to people in the real world, they wouldn't help you no matter what you promised. Why is it different for her father? This is her mother's doing, and if her grandfather wanted to buy out his custody of her, then her conniving mother can get him to pay for college. Agreed. It's not his daughter's fault for thinking like this, it's his ex's, but he's not required to pay for her college or anything else when she has zero respect for him or his new family. Edit. I suppose I didn't word this properly. I understand she's 19 now and should be able to do basic maths and realize for herself that OP didn't cheat, but we also don't know what else has been said to make Ariel dislike OP and his wife and his kid. So I guess saying it's not her fault is technically wrong because she's a young adult now and should be able to come to conclusions herself, but manipulation from a young age can really mess with you and warp your brain. Like I said, we don't know what else her mom has said. Don't come at me, because all I want to say is based on what OP wrote. To me, he's not the jerk. I honestly really do feel for the girl. Her mind was warped by her horrid mother to think her father is a bad person. But at the same time, she chose to pick the mother's side and believe the nonsense told to her and let it influence her behavior towards that part of her family. She's an adult and needs to make up her own mind rather than just believing her mother. Besides, OP isn't cutting her off completely. If she wants the money, she just needs to play nice and at least try and be reasonable. I think it's actually potentially a good thing to push for that, as it's still giving a chance for her to figure things out for herself. I hope she makes the right choice and tries to reconcile things. It's the mother she needs to get the heck away from after all. She's the toxic one. You left out the part where he waited until the last possible moment to do her out of college. Ariel's behavior is nothing new. OP made his mind a long time ago. He could have told her the moment she graduated from high school, but he didn't. He, a grown man, deliberately did her out of college as an act of vengeance, which puts the entire story into question. You're the jerk. Not for not paying your part of the agreement, but for springing this on them now, so late in the game. Forms for college grants and loans are due in winter for the following year. It's now almost September when classes start, and tuition is due. You waited until the very last minute to give your daughter ultimatums, and now, when she's got nowhere else to turn, you threaten her entire college year. That is manipulative, exploitative, and contemptible. Financial aid forms are submitted once a year. If you were a man of your word, you'd pay your share this year as you agreed to, and let your daughter know that next year she has to figure out her tuition on her own. But by the comments you're leaving all over the place, I know you probably won't do that. You've decided you're done with your daughter, and you don't care one bit what happens to her. You're the jerk. I'm so sick of the "her mom poisoned her mind" narrative. For her to believe her mother, then you had to have not shown up a lot and been a less than hands-on dad, because let's be fair, from the start of this post, you make clear she was a mistake and a struggle. I would say everyone sucks here, but considering the fact that your daughter is the same age you were when you had her, and you start the post by talking about mistakes you made when you were her age, that you would understand that youth is not equal to perspective, and maybe not take your frustrations with the situation out on her by damaging her future prospects. Well, what do you think? Is OP a jerk for not paying for his daughter's college or not? Please let us know. When did all these kids start thinking they're entitled to have their college paid for by their parents, no matter how they treat them? Am I the jerk for asking my girlfriend to pay for the wine glass she broke? A few days ago, my girlfriend, Trish, not her real name, was cleaning the kitchen windows. In the midst of her cleaning, she accidentally knocked over a dish from the drying rack, and that dish landed on and shattered an expensive wine glass of mine. I say mine because it was given to me by my mother as a Christmas gift last year. The glass retails for around $120. When she told me she had broken the glass by accident, which she was very nervous about because she knows the glass was expensive, we had a discussion, may classify this as an argument, that lasted 3 days about how it would get replaced and who would pay. After all of this talking, she finally, she says, gave in and gave me 40% of the cost to replace the glass. I had initially asked that she replace the glass in full, but after discussion realized if we are partners, it would be logical to use the 60-40 calculation we use for everything else. Background: Trish and I have been living together for about a year. When we initially decided to move in together, we decided to split all expenses 60-40 because of our combined income distribution. I make 60% of our gross monthly earnings, she makes 40%. After the initial agreement, Trish has now said she does not feel good about the agreement and wants me to give the money back to her. Her reasoning is that A, it was a complete accident, and B, she would never want to buy any wine glass that expensive ever again. My argument is that if we are to live together, we are going to be sharing costs, and inevitably things are going to break and need replacing and repairing. I liked this wine glass, again, which was a gift from my mother, and would like to replace it so that we have a matching set once more. More background. I know for a fact that Trish is financially able to reimburse me the 40% and would suffer no undue hardship from the loss of those funds. On the other hand, I am also fully able to replace the glass without it affecting my financial stability. Am I the jerk for asking Trish to reimburse 40% of the wine glass she broke by accident? Edit. It appears that according to popular sentiment, I am the jerk. I have therefore given Trish back her money. Thank you for the comments that gave gentle and thoughtful wisdom on what you believed might be more of a root cause of this argument. I don't think we've been in a good place for a long time, and asking her for money was never about control. I wanted to see her take personal responsibility because that is what I would have done. FYI, Trish was with me and signed off on this post before I submitted it. She has read all of the comments. After doing so, we now understand that she does not wish to have such nice things and is worried about being too materialistic, as well as a prisoner in her own home, having to walk on eggshells in the fear that she might break something else. She's also sad that I was not able to show compassion and let it slide. I do struggle with showing empathy and compassion sometimes. And I also agree with the people who have commented on the argument spanning 3 days. It's exhausting for both of us. Life is too short. We have little fights like this all the time, and it's wearing on both of us. It might be time to call it quits. Info. Why was a $120, presumably delicate, wine glass sitting in or next to a drying rack with regular dishes in the first place? If I had glassware that pricey, it would be washed, dried, and put away after use. Everyone sucks here. You're the jerk. Nickel and diming each other like this does not make for a successful relationship. This was an accident. If she had done this on purpose, I could see asking for reimbursement, but this is how you treat a roommate, not a girlfriend. Frankly, OP, I think you bear some responsibility here. If the glass is that expensive, it should be washed, dried, and put away immediately. Accidents happen, but it wouldn't have happened had it not been left out on the drying pad. I think her paying 40% is the maximum amount she should pay. It's not about the wine glass. She's sick of being nickel and dimed over every little thing. She's already walking on eggshells around you because one wrong step and she's stuck paying $100 since you insist on having stupid expensive junk all over your shared living space. She doesn't want to have to constantly stress about expensive wine glasses or plates or whatever, when simple, good quality items are just as aesthetically pleasing and more functional. Let me spell it out for you. Living with you is stressful for her. You are ignoring how she prefers to live because on some level, you enjoy the control in watching her squirm. For that, you're the jerk. Exactly. I was stressed reading his rules. She was cleaning. She was not being careless. What if it was a guest who dropped the glass? Make them replace it? You're the jerk. When my husband and I moved in together, he washed a very expensive sweater, designer and cashmere, in the washing machine. It was ruined. You know what I did? I cried a bit and then I let it go. I left it in a place that caused him to think he could wash it, and he didn't think to check the tag. It was an accident and I treated it as such. I didn't demand he buy me a new one. I just got over it. Life moved on and we didn't choose to cause hard feelings in our relationship over an accident. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his girlfriend? Please let us know. $120 wine glass? And you got us over here washing and reusing our straws. Military revenge from a non-military person. Back in the early 1990s when I was married, we had the beginnings of internet in Brisbane, Australia. My husband, now ex, collected military insignia and he did trades with force members from all over the world. Basically, they posted pictures of what they would trade, and others responded with photos of what they would be traded for and receive. Now on to the story. Came home one Friday night after work, and hubby was upset. After getting the boys settled, I got him to tell me the problem. He had organized a military insignia trade with a U.S. Marine, and he had posted his items to the Marine months prior, but had received nothing back. Each time he contacted the Marine, he was given conflicting excuses as to why the trade items had not been posted to him, and he now thought he was being scammed and would never receive the trade items. This had been going on for months. Now, hubby was scrupulously honest, and he was very upset that a fellow military person would scam him. Now, being the sort of person I am, I was very angry on his behalf. But what could we do? I mean, the trade person was half a world away in the USA. Well, I also used to watch the TV show Jag every week. I copied every message conversation hubby and the Marine had had. I saved and sorted them and uploaded them onto a special website I created just for this using HTML code I had taught myself. I pulled an all-nighter and worked from 8 p.m. Friday night until 10 p.m. Saturday night. It was all laid out in spectacular honesty. Then I went and searched this Marine and found his full name, address, rank, and unit, commanding officer, base where he was posted, etc. Basically, every bit of free information I could locate. I put all of this information on the brand new website as well. Then I spent a few hours from 10 p.m. Saturday night to 2 a.m. Sunday morning getting the email address of as many U.S. military bases as I could all over the world. Then at 2 p.m. on Sunday morning, I sent the link to that website to every email address I had found. U.S. Army, Marine, Air Force, JAG, embassies, etc. all over the world. And then I went to bed and slept. Woke up Sunday afternoon to a phone call from a ranking officer in the U.S. Marines. All the items my hubby had sent the Marine for trade were being posted back to him using fastest air freight. All trade items that were agreed upon were also being posted to hubby using fastest air freight. Ranking officer wanted to know how much time went into my website and what hourly rate of pay was I currently on in my administrative job, and I told him for him to tell me that money to the value of my hourly rate times the hours I put into the website would also be heading our way. I stated that once hubby's items were returned, I was more than willing to pull down the website. I respected the military from all countries. I just did not want the Marine to be able to scam anyone else like he had tried to do to my hubby. I was told not to worry about the Marine. He was being managed by his superiors and we would never hear from him again. Yes, we did receive everything and quite fast as well for back then. Am I the jerk for not telling my landlord I had bought a house? I'd been renting from a landlord for a few years, and he was pretty typical landlord. Take the rent, do as few repairs as cheap as possible, etc. I'm sure you know the drill. He also was kinda late on stuff. Like every year, the lease says renewals should be sent out 2 months before the end of the lease to give the option, and every year he procrastinates until the last week or two of the lease. I was looking to buy my first house, and I closed on one 4 months before my lease was up. But I kept some overlap so I could live in the apartment while repairing the house. 2 months before the lease was up, like usual, my landlord forgot to send out the renewals. I thought of telling him I wouldn't be renewing, then I remembered that my neighbors who moved had trouble with him bringing way too many potential tenants to tour. Nobody wanted the apartment because the online listing was a bait and switch, so people would see something looking in good repair, then come to tour and see that it was bad. And nobody wanted to sign the lease, so he just kept bringing more and more people instead of making an honest listing at an honest price. So I didn't say anything. I just kept fixing up the house and moving my stuff. Then, 1 week before my lease expired, my landlord texted me the renewal. I actually didn't see it because I had my phone on Do Not Disturb, but the next morning he kept texting wanting my signed renewal. I told him I didn't plan on renewing, and he got really angry, demanding to know what apartment I was moving to next. I got the impression he wanted to call my next landlord to complain about me. Anyway, I told him I was moving back in with my parents. I didn't want to tell him about the house because of the temper he was getting with me. He started showing the apartment right away, but I had already finished moving out, so it didn't bother me. But when I stopped by to turn in my keys and ask for my security deposit, he got angry, saying that I had some nerve asking for $1,300 when I had just done him out of a month's rent by not giving notice. I told him that the security deposit was for damages, and if he wanted to withhold it, he would have to send over an itemized list of damages and receipts for repairs. He gave me the security deposit back, but yelled at me that he took care of his tenants and I was selfish for leaving without notice. I just left, but I guess I'm feeling kinda conflicted. On one hand, it is literally his job, his only job, to handle leases and find out who's renewing, and if he forgot, that's not really my problem. But I also know that I knew I was leaving for the better part of a year, and I told him with less than a week. Am I the jerk for not telling my landlord I bought a house? Edit. For all of you keyboard lawyers in the comments being like, your lease says, I've read my lease. It doesn't say anything that y'all are saying it says. Have you read my lease? And if so, how the heck did you get into my bedroom desk? Not the jerk. If you want to be a landlord and you expect to earn that passive income, you need to take care of the basics. Not the jerk. He didn't follow the rules of the lease, since you don't mention any rules about a 30-day notice, that it seems to have to go from lease to lease. That's his bad, not yours. New quality inspector wants it by the book and now has to work unpaid overtime because she's salary. I'll try to make this brief. I was trained in an advanced assembly position to replace a longtime employee who retired last week. I trained for 3 months, following the man's instructions to the letter, even taking notes on the ways he's developed in order to meet our company's demanding production quotas. Last Monday was my first day officially in the position, and I felt I was doing almost as good of a job as he was. The way it works, everything I build goes into a 24-hour hold. When I come in, I pull them from the hold, clean them, and prepare them for shipping. So last Monday, I start pulling my 24-hour inventory and getting it ready for quality to final inspect before it goes to shipping. Well, we also have a new quality inspector in my department who's apparently really gung-ho about her job. She's salaried, is only supposed to work 8 hours, and has never missed a chance to rub it in our faces because she was also a production employee until 2 weeks ago when she got promoted. She sees me cleaning the assemblies and proceeds to chew me out because they had only been on hold for 15 hours or so, not 24. I informed her that I was taught that the 24-hour hold was to ensure they hold pressure, and that if they hadn't lost pressure in 12 hours, they won't lose pressure in 24, and that by the time I had them all cleaned, they would be out of the 24-hour hold, and I would have another batch to assemble and put in hold for the next day. That's how it works. I clean and prepare until my other coworkers have assembled all my sub-assemblies. Then I do the finish assembly while they work on new stuff for the next day. She was adamant she wouldn't touch them until the full 24 hours had passed. So she went and got her supervisor, my supervisor, and the engineering supervisor, who all agreed with me but could see her point. So they told me to start pulling my assemblies out of hold at the 24-hour mark after the day. So I did. And at 3 o'clock, she had between 25 and 30 pieces to inspect every day last week. That's right at 3 hours worth of work, and she's supposed to leave at 3:30. However, if she has parts in the inspection area, she has to inspect them and get them to shipping the same day. She can't leave parts overnight. So she was forced to work overtime for free. I've never felt so much anger from one person when they looked at me before. Fast forward to today, my supervisor comes to me and tells me to go back to the system I was using before, that it seemed to flow smoother. I know the real reason though, and that's all that matters. Stalkers think they can scare me out of my new home. Cast, we've got me. We've got Entitled Stalkers 1 and 2. We've got The Kind Neighbor. I should give you guys just a little backstory on how I ended up in this situation. I grew up in Scientology. My parents joined back in 1991 and moved to the States to be involved more than they could from the UK. In 2015, when I was 15, I joined the Sea Org and signed a billion-year contract. I know how insane that is, but it was something my parents were pressuring me to do because they thought it would allow me to be the best Scientologist I could be. But last August, I saw my opportunity to leave, and I took it. I was sent out with a group of other Sea Org members to confront some people who had been declared as suppressive peoples who were outside the building. When one of them said that they had a permit to film some stuff in the street, and since it was public that we couldn't stop them, and that it was in the car parked about 5 minutes away from where we were. One of the women I had come out with me told me to go with the guy and check it out, so I did. When we got around the corner, I told the guy I wanted to leave, but hadn't been able to because there was always someone watching. He suggested that maybe since we were out of sight, maybe we could get into his car and he would drive me to a hotel and get me to a room so I could plan where I could go after a couple of days. So I took the opportunity and got into his car and finally felt so much freedom that I had never felt before. He also had been a Scientologist and had escaped the gold base years ago, so understood my situation very well. And once I figured out that I wanted to go to Washington, he got in contact with some friends of his who were able to get me there without Scientology having any way of tracing my movements. I have been here ever since. I live in a nice neighborhood, well, at least to where I had been before, and had managed to get a job working in a coffee shop. I've been so happy to be free, but I never fully stopped looking over my shoulder. I know the policies regarding people like me, and I've been keeping an eye out for them ever since I left. 2 months ago, I noticed that a car with tinted windows was following me. I knew it was down to Scientology. They had somehow found out where I had moved and were trying to gather information on me. Last week, they finally knocked on my door. Even though I knew it was going to happen sooner or later, I was shaking. My neighbor, who has always been really kind to me, was over. She comes over sometimes just to check on me, and she'll bring me food if she feels like I haven't eaten properly. She's basically been like a mom to me, and I love her for it. I opened the door, and things got really uncomfortable really fast. Stalker 1.
Your parents have been worried about you, and you're hiding out here. Why?
Me. I'm not hiding. I just don't want to be in a cult anymore. Stalker 1, shouting.
Liar! You are a criminal. You broke your contract, and you fled. You are evil.
Kind neighbor interrupts. Hold on a minute. Stop shouting. OP is not evil, and she is free to live her life as she pleases. Now leave her property, or I will call the police. Stalker 2, holding a camera pointed at my face. You are a suppressive person. You may not set foot in any Scientology building again. If you do, we will have you charged for harassment. I'm confused. But you're the ones who tracked me down. I know the policies. I know I'm a SP. I know about being disconnected with my family. So what do either of us gain from you being here? Kind neighbor. Put the camera down. Stalker 1.
No.
Kind neighbor closes the door in their faces and goes to close the curtains, as I told her that they would probably try filming through my windows. I went and closed all the other curtains in my home, and after kind neighbor left, I locked my doors too. They're still watching my house from a car across the street, and I feel uncomfortable about going outside. I know what kind of methods they can use when they are fair gaming an SP. I know now after watching Going Clear and Leia Ramini's show that my experience with them after leaving is tame, but it's still pretty creepy. Why they feel entitled to follow people around to a point where I'm basically a prisoner in my own home, I don't know, but I wish they would leave me alone. I'm not sure what information they have gathered on me, but I know whatever it is will have been sent back and it will be used against me in some way. But until they try and use it, I have no way to really do anything. If anyone has any advice, please let me know. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.